I'm very excited for the future of Star Wars, and I think by the end of this video, you will be too. A new hope indeed. But yes, The Rise of Skywalker is rallying. It's rallied Christmas week. And I think with that in mind, it's clear that even though Bob Iger said Disney is taking a break with Star Wars movies, the franchise will be back on the big screen sooner rather than later. And when you pair the tremendous reaction to The Mandalorian Season 1 finale, the whole show has been well received, but this finale is something else. And then when you pair that again with The Rise of Skywalker, surprisingly strong box office, well, the Disney starship is definitely righting itself. And with Benioff and Weiss out of here, they took themselves out. What luck! A wide open future lies ahead of Star Wars, which is also very exciting. Yes, I still suspect that Kathleen Kennedy will move on when her current contract ends. I think it's healthy for her and for the franchise and Disney. I think everybody would benefit from a new chapter here. And she can, I think with The Rise of Skywalker rallying at the box office, she can leave with her dignity intact and likely move on to a lucrative producing deal over at Disney. Much like Amy Pascal was fired as the head of Sony after the email leak and scandal, but just, moved to having her own office on the lot as a producer. And it's worked out pretty darn well for Pascal, so maybe it will for Kathleen Kennedy too. Now, as I've said before, I suspect that Jon Favreau, Johnny Favs, might be taking over as the new head of Lucasfilm, with Dave Filoni as his second and George Lucas in an advisory position. Let's bring that guy back. I don't think we should listen to every single one of his ideas, but I think we should know what he's thinking. And after watching The Mandalorian Season 1 finale, it seems like that for the next movie, it would be beneficial for all to have Johnny Favs and Taika Waititi in the mix. I'm not quite sure in which roles. Both are writers and directors. And while only Johnny Favs gets writing credit for the season finale, it has such strong Taika Waititi flourishes, I would suspect some stuff was added on set. But anyway, what do you know? When it comes to Favreau and Taika Waititi, not only are both of them Disney guys, even Jojo Rabbit ended up being a Disney movie, but they're both Marvel guys as well. And isn't Kevin Feige about to produce a Star Wars movie? Jon Favreau, his schedule is pretty open coming up, but Taika Waititi's is not. Don't worry, I have a whole list of directors here, as you know. But first I want to say on a side note that having a film director made such a big difference for the Mandalorian Season 1 finale. And to be fair, though, to Jon Favreau, he never directed an episode. I feel that this means that Cassian Andor has the edge for when it comes to upcoming Disney Plus series, because that's the only one that has big screen talent attached behind the camera. Tony Gilroy returning after saving Rogue One from Gareth Edwards. So what if Taika Waititi is too busy making Thor Love and Thunder? Oh, which I feel even more confident in after The Mandalorian Season 1 finale. And maybe Johnny Favs doesn't want to be in Star Wars. I think that seems ridiculous considering how much time he's invested in it, but you never know. Maybe they're too busy, right? So here are some suggestions of other directors who could take over for Episode 10. Will it even be called Episode 10? I think I'd maybe call it Episode 10. Makes it easier on the metadata, thank you very much. All right, so what is the criteria for being a Star Wars director? I want to give you some insight as to how I put together my list. Well, you have to have experience with not just action, but also story. So I'm sorry, Chad Stahelski, I'm not saying never, but you're not ready just yet. And also you have to have experience handling a big IP for a big audience. I think we need a break from indie experimental directors because that has not worked out so well for Star Wars. And I don't think that they can take another hit right now. Just look at The Mandalorian with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni handling it, who are exactly what I just said. Experienced creatives who have a lot of who have experience working on big IPs, pleasing big audiences, and making both fans and the studio very happy. That's what we're looking for here. We also can't have anybody who's been burned by Star Wars or Marvel, which is actually a surprisingly long list, because I think that means you can't go back to Lord and Miller or Colin Trevorrow or Edgar Wright. which is unfortunate. I think Edgar Wright would be a good fit considering how well Taika Waititi has fared here. But he's not going to do the Kevin Feige one, I don't think. Also, you can't be committed to another studio because as talented as James Wan and Todd Phillips are, they're Team Warner Brothers for the foreseeable future. For quite the foreseeable future. And good luck to them. They're doing great work over there. All right, so I think that makes the obvious choice after Johnny Favs and Taika Waititi the Russo Brothers, especially for that Kevin Feige Star Wars movie. The Russo Brothers have already said they'd love to make a Star Wars movie because I'm, like everyone, Chris Evans and Brie Larson were both like, we'd like to be in a Star Wars movie. Everybody is making sure, I told you the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and everyone's squeaking around Kevin Feige. But the Russo Brothers, because we're talking about directors here, I would go with Chris Evans, to be honest with you. I think Brie Larson, because Chris Evans' this Marvel run is done, where Brie Larson's, she's just getting started as Captain Marvel. So as much as she loves Star Wars, which I appreciate, and also I think we want to stay away from divisive people for now. Everyone loves Chris Evans. So have a Star Wars sweater. All right, so anyway, back to the Russo brothers. They have proven multiple times that they can check all the boxes when it comes to franchise filmmaking. They understand both the creative and the business side. I think they actually understand the business side better than the creative side, but they're so strong with the business side that look how well they do. And they're, as I said, which was important, they're very good at making both the studio and fans very happy. Plus, they have absolutely no controversy as filmmakers. They're great. Now, if they're not available, they said they'd make themselves available, but maybe they're too expensive. Maybe Star Wars wants to have more of its own identity. I would consider James Mangold. He's a big studio player, has serious awards cred, and fan cred thanks to Logan. I think he'd really be able to deliver something that fans and the studio were happy with. Then, finally, I have two left field choices because, again, not a lot of people can do this. Not a lot of people can fit the criteria, especially when we're looking for safe choices. That's as I've discussed with you before. When we talk about there's a short list available for a job, many of you are like, who wouldn't want to be the head of Lucasfilm? And who wouldn't want to direct a Star Wars movie? I didn't say who wanted to do it. I said who could do it in the way that the studio wants. I mean, these are huge multi-million-dollar investments with billions of dollars on the line. It's not like, we can't just, who wants it the most. We have to make responsible business decisions. All right, so next, I would like to put Alfonso Cuaron on my list, right? Remember when he saved Harry Potter, right, back in the day? And he has a history with dystopian futures and politics, thanks to Children of Men, and big-budget space epics with Gravity. Now, would Alfonso Cuaron want to make a Star Wars movie at this point in his career? I think if there was a good enough angle and you gave him lots of creative freedom to even maybe come up with that angle himself and a huge paycheck, I think maybe he would do it. And I think that it would be worth perhaps giving him those elements because, you might be like, well, we get another Rian Johnson situation. I think Cuaron is a little bit more responsible. And I think Cuaron doesn't have a history of subverting expectations. And that's like Rian Johnson's, even with Knives Out, that's his creative choice. I still don't think it's a good one, but, Knives Out, I think, is definitely considered a hit for Rian Johnson. Then finally, while I know a lot of you want to see John Krasinski and Emily Blunt over at Marvel, Krasinski has proven himself to be a very strong creative and business-minded director with A Quiet Place. He's also very funny, which has proven to be an important ingredient for Star Wars talent as well. He'd be just as great in the Star Wars universe as he would Marvel, in my opinion. And a behind-the-camera role in Star Wars, maybe even on-camera as well to some degree, right? It wouldn't preclude him from an on-camera role or even a behind-the-camera role also at Marvel. In fact, it could help his odds. He could join the team with Taika Waititi and Johnny Favs. And I think John Krasinski actually fits on that team really well. So those are my choices for the next Star Wars director. And I would like to take a moment to address the fact that my only diverse choices, well, it's like a big part of the list, because it's a short list, are Taika Waititi and Alfonso Cuarón. Because, this is a big part of movie discussion these days, representation, which I am a fan of. I think it's important. And yeah, it would be great to have a couple of more directors of color of a choice here, particularly a black director, and I wish I could put a woman on this list as well. Boy, do I! But again, we're looking for a safe choice here with experience, and unfortunately, Not a lot of diverse directors have that kind of experience at this point. They're getting there, though. Like, look at Deborah Chow taking over who's in charge of the Obi-Wan series. So we're getting there. But, Star Wars needs to be firmly on track before it can experiment with directors again. That said, though, that doesn't mean they can't have experiment with the cast for this new Star Wars movie in terms of diversity and other types of representation. I think that's crucial, and we've already seen it done very successfully with The Mandalorian. So, and there are lots of other roles to be filled behind the camera as well, where you could have that kind of representation. But I'm looking for a captain of the starship, and again, I want experience. So I just wanted to let you know my thinking on that one. Also, by the way, speaking of this new movie, I think it should clearly start from scratch, so to speak, with all new characters, so there are lots of opportunities to bring in that diversity organically. All right, so what do you think of my choice for directors for Star Wars Episode 10? Share your thoughts down below, as well as your own suggestions for who could take over. Subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.